Ocasio-Cortez's unfavorability is skyrocketing. Her approval rating is rapidly collapsing. And Vox says it's conservative media's war on AOC. You know what I love? I love how I don't exist, right? They say, Right Wing Watch wrote about Dave Rubin, calling him a classic liberal in quotes. And they talk about how, Dave was insulting progressives or something. I think Dave's opinions on the progressives are more harsh than mine. I'm critical of authoritarianism. Look, I don't care if you're a communist, as long as you're not a violent authoritarian. If you want to vote your way into some, silly system, then I will be right there to challenge your ideas in the free market of ideas. I try not to be as harsh as some people. But here's the thing. I am squarely liberal. I am absolutely, I would say probably one of the most important issues to me is the death penalty. And I put that right alongside anti-war. Because I have of all the things I truly believe, taking someone else's life is the worst possible thing you can do. So the war intervention is top of the list for me. Anyway, I don't want to ramble on that. We want to talk about conservative media's hammering of AOC's poll numbers. And the reason why I talk about how they think I don't exist is because I'm center-left liberal, and I think AOC is really, really bad. So when she talks about identitarianism, that's a bad thing. And that's the big issue I have with her primarily. But also I think she's just really arrogant. God, you know what really bothers me? What I hate more than anything is snooty elitism. Snooty elitism. So when we see people like Ocasio-Cortez, she is the epitome of the worst of the left. I think Trump represents a lot of really awful and, in my opinion, really disgusting things. I think he's a crude and crass individual. I think he, I don't want to get into him because I often, go on rants. The point is, Trump represents something bad to me. Policy-wise, it's okay, he's center right, and a lot of the stuff he's done is work. That's fine. I think Ocasio-Cortez actually has some fine ideas. Some. I am absolutely opposed to private prisons. But Ocasio-Cortez is the worst representative of my values, of the values that we do share. She is an arrogant, narcissistic ignoramus. I'm not trying to be condescendingly or I don't want to call her a stupid name. You know what I mean? I don't want to use a derogatory word. When I say ignoramus, I mean that in the statement of fact sense, that she is a very ignorant individual. She lacks information. Often, look, she thought a tax break was money. She thought an accounting error was money. And she recently tweeted, help us. Croissants at LaGuardia are going for $7 a piece. Yet some people think getting a whole hour of personal dedicated human labor for $15 is too expensive. Oh my God. My understanding, I could be wrong, but the minimum wage at LaGuardia is higher than $15. It's so I've been told. I'm not entirely sure. I used to work for O'Hare. Listen, there is so much wrong with what she's saying here. First of all, nobody lives in LaGuardia, okay? No one lives there. You can't compare the cost. Imagine if someone said, did you know that milk in Alaska costs $15 a gallon? And you're going to be like, yeah, because they don't have cows, right? I mean, they probably have cows somewhere, but it's not a big farming industry. So they probably have to ship them up from California. And that takes a lot of energy and resources. So the price goes up. If you want strawberries in the winter in New York, guess what? The price goes up. If you want to buy food at LaGuardia Airport, which is a massive infrastructure and has security restrictions and the cost of infrastructure in general, which results in high rent, the cost of every food item having to be screened or checked for security, at least to a certain degree, the prices go up. $15 an hour for somebody in, say, Cleveland or Cincinnati or some city, you can't, she just doesn't really get it. First of all, I tweeted about this. 9 croissants goes for $6 at Walmart. 9. That means for $15 an hour, you get 22 croissants. That's a lot. Okay. I don't think, what is that? That's a week's worth of croissants. You could probably, you need vitamins, but you could probably live off that for a decent amount of time. So she just really doesn't, God, and then she blames the GOP. Yes, because centrist liberal types, center left types. Anyway, they're upset because there was a poll recently that found the more Americans learn about Ocasio-Cortez, the more they hate her. Seriously, her unfavorability is skyrocketing. And I'll tell you why. It's really simple. I'll read a little bit just because I should. Ocasio-Cortez, the social media star and self-identified democratic socialist, is fairly unpopular around the country. Heavens. A Quinnipiac poll on Thursday morning, released on Thursday morning, found that 23% of Americans had a favorable view of the member of Congress, while 36% had an unfavorable view. A negative 13 overall approval rating. 38% hadn't heard enough about her to have had an informed opinion. This new poll isn't a one-off finding. 3 prior surveys, one in January from Morning Consult, one in February from Fox, and a third in mid-March from Gallup, all found that more Americans had negative views of AOC than positive ones. This might surprise a lot of Democrats who see all of her viral clips and impressive performances in congressional hearings and assume she's a popular rising star. So what's going on? Ocasio-Cortez herself has preferred an explanation. Yeah, that it's a right-wing propaganda machine. You know what, man? You know what really bothers me is when liberals don't watch the news. I am really, really angry with my liberal friends. I just hung out with some of my liberal friends, Bernie voters, like progressive liberal types, and they said, this pisses me off. They said to me, when Hillary Clinton stole the nomination from Bernie, they completely disengaged, and they said, whatever, I'm out. Now what happens? They don't read the news. So some of them who are still fighting the resistance only see propaganda from like Occupy Democrats and other progressives who want to circle jerk around the idea that Ocasio-Cortez has good ideas when she doesn't. She doesn't understand the concept of the economy, how some places cost more than others. She thought $21 trillion accounting error, which means someone carried a zero in the wrong direction, could be spent. She lost New York something like 20,000 jobs or some number, 25,000 jobs, because she thought tax breaks, which are already ingrained in the New York labor system, was New York bending over backwards to give $3 billion to Amazon. Oh my God. No, she doesn't know what she's talking about. To make matters worse, you want to know why I don't like her? Okay. First, her ideas are bad. She cost jobs and economic growth for New York City at a time when they're in serious trouble. Andrew Cuomo was talking about how their tax revenue is down, and heaven forbid they tax the rich because the rich are already leaving. That's what he said. Cuomo said that. New York's crumbling infrastructure. The subway systems are in disrepair. They need to generate revenue. There are 2 ways to do that. On the surface, increase taxes. However, that could backfire by reducing trade volume. Increasing trade volume, in my opinion, I'm not an economist, would result in generating more tax revenue over time, because each transaction, a cut goes to the government. So the more transactions, the more cuts they get. Ocasio-Cortez, and my God, I just can't stand it. Look, there's reality here. Ocasio-Cortez headlined a protest event in southern New York City, in Manhattan, to stop Amazon. It was a protest event from activists who had no idea what they were talking about. And then after everything fell apart and everyone got mad at her, she goes, I didn't even do anything. It wasn't even in my district. And it's like, dude, you have 3+ million followers. You put massive public pressure and headlined a protest event against Amazon. I'm not saying you're solely responsible, but you're absolutely responsible. Bad ideas. And here's where it gets worse. What does she do? She says, I'm the boss. I'm in charge, and you're just yelling from the cheap seats. No one's trying this but me. And she introduces the Green New Deal, which unanimously got voted down. Nobody likes her ideas. Even Democrats voted no on her bill. Now, she did get most of the Democrats voted present. They refused to vote on it at all because the Democrats are falling apart, in my opinion. So there was the reason that Vox believes her poll numbers are down is because she's actually viewed favorably among Democrats. 40% view her favorably, but hold on. 7% view her unfavorably. But that means you still have around half of Democrats saying, I don't know. By contrast, she's viewed overwhelmingly unfavorably among Republicans. A scant 2% view her favorably, while 74% view her unfavorably. When these viral videos emerge of Ocasio-Cortez, where she's saying things like, you had one where she talked about dark money. Dude, this is propaganda, okay? It's not news. There's a video that went viral where she was talking about playing the game and being evil, and it was selectively edited. They show her talking, and it feels good. But there's more than just what she says. If I sat here and said, why is it that Goldman Sachs is able to donate infinite money to China so that China can ship skateboards to California? People go, wow, that is a crazy problem. Did you fact check that? Do you have any idea if what I'm saying is true? The point is, Ocasio-Cortez says things that are emotional that have people going like, yeah, and it sounds like she's powerful and fighting back. One of the most recent viral videos was her saying like, the Green New Deal is about regular people. I was a bartender serving tacos 2 years ago, and here I am fighting for little people. It's like, dude, that has nothing to do with the actual argument for the Green New Deal. The Green New Deal is loaded with nonsense that has nothing to do with the environment. And that's what bothers me. You know what I'd love to see? A real Green New Deal. No, I mean that wholeheartedly. Please propose a bill that says how much we're going to allocate in government funding to investing in green technology. Remember Obama did the Solyndra thing? That was a failure, but hey, if at first you don't succeed, try again. In my opinion, we know about the failures of Solyndra because it was in the public. I'm not saying we want to repeat that by no means, but I do think investing in green technology and offering incentives and grants, tax incentives, these can be good things. So how about we do that? Instead, what does Cortez propose? Free healthcare, free college, a guaranteed job, and yes, as much as they try to act like it was just a big mistake, on their website they said, we'll give you money even if you're unwilling to work. Then they pulled it down and said, it was an accident that we published that to our website, published it in a PDF form, and sent it out to NPR and various, and CNBC and other news outlets. Oh, it was all a mistake. Okay, sure, I'll give you that one. But you read the bill. The second page talks about identitarianism. It's like, dude, we don't need that, right? How about you propose an actual bill for the environment? And here's what happens. She stands up and she challenges the tribe of conservatives. And so the left just goes, hee, because, you know, there's an image that Dave Rubin posted. It said, big people talk about ideas, large people talk about events, and small people talk about people. Something like that. I don't know the exact quote. But here's what happens. When it comes to politics, most people just care about people and tribe. They don't care about what makes sense or not. And that's why when you look at me, there's a few things I noticed really interesting. I don't get smeared nearly as often as most people in like the political space. Tucker Carlson's dragged all the time. There are a bunch of political YouTubers who are attacked and dragged all the time. I don't get that. You know why? I rarely talk about people. I typically only talk about very, very high profile people. I don't talk about small individual commentators or channels. I typically only talk about issues of power. I don't know. Maybe not always, but Ocasio-Cortez is in Congress. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking about her. And she's got 3+ million followers. So the issue here is there's a lot of people who want to see her succeed because she's a tribal representative. They don't care about what her ideas are. When it comes to me, you may find that I actually believe in socially liberal policies against the death penalty, against private prisons. I believe we need some kind of reform for money in politics, but I don't know what form that should take, because a really good argument I've heard is if we ban super PACs, if we ban the expenditure of, buying ads, then only the existing media infrastructure will be able to influence elections, and we don't want to centralize power in that direction even more. But we do have to figure out how to deal with dark money. Right now, China could, pay someone for a speech, and then when that person announces their run, it's a complicated problem that I don't know if you can solve. But I lean in that direction. I want to solve that. I also like the idea of guaranteed healthcare in some capacity. I don't know how we do it. That's the challenge. So these are things I think we can fight for. The reason why I'm more of a heterodox individual and I challenge people like Cortez is because she's, in my opinion, very, very, very arrogant and ignorant and causes damage to my politics. It's damaging to what I believe in when she's the representative. It's really plain and simple. I don't want to go on too long. Listen to this. 74% of Republicans view her unfavorably. Great. I would like a Green New Deal. I would like I want a Star Trek future with replicators and spaceships. I want to see more investment in science and technology. And I think the government can play a role in that. And I think we can do more to help businesses grow, expand our economy, and better research energy technologies, which will make us more competitive internationally. I'd like that idea. Let's have a conversation about it. Let's propose a resolution that says our goal for the future is inspired by the stories that we grew up watching of a future where all people can live together peacefully, where we can travel the stars, where we're sending helicopters to Mars, and we've saved the environment on our planet and made a beautiful green and blue rock, and the threat of pollution is down because we've mastered energy technology. I want to see that. How about we make a resolution that says that instead of some ridiculous nonsense about paying people who are unwilling to work and racial identitarianism? That's the problem with AOC. Okay. Anyway, what I was going to say is when you have all of these Republicans hating you, they attribute the ideas with you. And I don't blame them. I absolutely don't. Because she's the worst representative. I try every day to talk to people more towards the middle, and yes, on the fringes too, and like try and pull them to the middle so we can have a compromise. Because I recognize a person who lives in rural, I don't know, Idaho, who's growing potatoes, is going to have dramatically different needs than someone who's growing up in the middle of Manhattan. They're going to have dramatically different worldviews. We can't introduce, in most instances, a political solution that's going to work for both of them perfectly. You're stretching way too thin. It doesn't make sense. So localized policy makes a lot of sense, which is why the Electoral College is so important. Idaho needs rules for Idaho. New York needs rules for New York. Having a blanket rule over the entire country that impacts them might not be a good thing. Might not. I don't know. We need to have these conversations. And that's the point. AOC is one of these people who lives in a city and thinks everyone everywhere lives like she does. And then she wants to do this ridiculous, my God, man. She's making it hard for me to say, here's what I do. I go to someone in New York. Here's what I want to do. I want a Star Trek future. What can you provide and how can we accommodate you so that we work towards this goal? Then I go to someone in Idaho and say the same thing. The outcome of both circumstances will be entirely different, but still working towards the same goal. But all you have in tribal politics, and not necessarily a reflection of AOC, is people who think everyone lives the way they do. They don't. And to make matters worse, final thought, is that Ocasio-Cortez, she's an asshole. She really is, okay? When she tweets, you're yelling from the cheap seats? Are you kidding? Cameron Kasky, one of the Parkland kids, said something amazing, and Kyle Kashuv, I think his name is, pronouncing it right, quote tweeted one of his quotes and said, Kasky is a stand-up guy. And what did Kasky say? He said to a group of progressives, I'm paraphrasing, that if you're going to assume that just because someone likes guns or doesn't believe in abortion, they're evil or awful people, you're not going anywhere. He said, let's be the party of love and recognize that. And I think Cameron Kasky is a really good dude because he's even talked about respecting the rights of, coming up with solutions for the gun problems while still respecting the rights of the Second Amendment and all that stuff. I'm not saying his ideas are perfect, but I think he is a good example of someone who's trying. AOC is the opposite. Everything's always the GOP's fault. It's the right-wing propaganda machine. Maybe it's that you're a mean person who insults the poor and then talks about how you are poor. And that's, you know what? I'm done. Stick around. I'll have more videos coming up later today. Next video at 1 p.m. I will see you then.